Well, is anybody up? It's 9:30 on the West Coast, after midnight on the East Coast. So we're wondering if anybody's up watching this late. Have an excellent video, some surprising things in the news from artificial intelligence. Big time problems with artificial intelligence. What kind of problems are we talking about? What we're talking about is some warnings from some famous people about AI, some actual real world examples of taking jobs and restrictions on jobs. We have some real world effects of finances, people's budgets, people's money from AI. Housing market, again, getting slammed for buyers. There's only one solution now. All the other answers to how to get a house have been erased. There's only one thing left you can do. We'll talk about that. Also, EVs. Maybe there's a crack in the armor of EVs. Maybe it's starting to show signs that this takeover is not viable. And if it isn't, what happens to all the forced required switchover by the government? And then are there cyber attacks coming? But first, as always, here we go once again with Major League AI problems. What's the problem? Well, we'll see what the problem is in a minute, but it shouldn't be a surprise, according to James Cameron. According to James Cameron, he says that, make this a little smaller so maybe you can see it. I warned you guys in 1984, and you didn't listen about AI. Now, he's the one who directed Terminator with the future robot coming back to kill people and change history. And look, he's an entertainment guy. He's not a scientist per se, although he did do a lot with exploration of deep sea stuff, Titanic stuff. But he warned you guys in 84 and you didn't listen. In the not too distant future, the last survivor of humanity utters, we should have listened to him. Highly entertaining sci-fi warned of the threats of AI. We didn't take it seriously enough. So is this dramatic? Yeah, probably. There's no Terminator coming to shoot people and blast people right now. But what is happening? Well, on the very scientific and clinical side, there's adversarial machine learning and AI risk. What does that mean? Artificial intelligence and machine learning is opening up new lanes of invulnerability. What does that mean? Well, when access and operation of any equipment, business, finances is done using artificial intelligence, think of the A, artificial. What that means is there's not a actual human who is behind the controls. There's not an actual human that's pushing the buttons. It's artificial intelligence, and kind of an oxymoron because intelligence requires humanity, in my opinion. So if you're talking artificial intelligence, that means it's not really intelligence. It's just artificial control. Not artificial intelligence, artificial control. So there's all kinds of ways that with that kind of control, it's not going to protect against accidental or intentional attacks from hackers, from competitors if you're a business, from nefarious bad guys, other countries that want to do harm. We'll talk about that at the end, where there may be an attack imminent from another country. Growing adoption of artificial intelligence at organizations of all sizes are growing risk posed by adversarial machine learning. And this is something we see quite a bit on our insurance side at risk coverage, where the vulnerabilities are now being monitored by insurance companies. And this is one example, data poisoning. If your data is being collated and populated by artificial intelligence, there's ways you can sneak in bad stuff, and that can hurt your business. And that's where you have more risk, and you need protection from that, either from an IT department, IT person, or from insurance. So in the real world, in the actual today's economy, how is this showing up? Well, you can ask Emily Hanley. Emily Hanley, ask her what she thinks. She lost her job due to ChatGPT and was made obsolete. She did finally get another job after 3 months, but now she's passing out samples at grocery stores. She was a freelance writer. Started losing work when clients started to use ChatGPT instead of hiring a copywriter. If a robot can do your job for less, it'll end up doing that. So anybody who doesn't think that this is real world, just ask Emily. Really happened to her. Now, this is just one person, right? One person out of 300 million in this country. But you think she's the only one? Think there's any more? And even if you don't actually lose your job, how did it start? Well, she told you how it starts. Started losing work when some clients decided to use AI. So no matter what job you're in, if you're freelance, your own business, you work for a company, you're an employee, as AI starts to creep in to different industries, it's going to gradually reduce the amount of actual human work that's needed. And then eventually that'll affect everybody. Your job directly, if you're a manager, maybe they need less managers. If you have less staff, you need less managers to manage the staff. Even if you keep the same number of staff, AI will make their roles more efficient. How else does it affect employees? Well, we talked about it yesterday that in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of writers and actors that are currently on strike because AI is doing the same thing they did to Emily. Don't need a copywriter for the movie or TV show. You just need AI. Well, you could go on strike. Well, good luck with that. What did they do in Los Angeles? Well, this is on the left, the picture of the strikers going on strike and marching in the picket line in July, where it's hot out, and they had some shade under the trees. What did Universal Studios do to make the strikers less comfortable? They cut down all the trees. So if AI makes you lose your job, good luck trying to go on strike, because they're going to cut down the trees and fry you in the sun, allegedly. What do you think about that? At the same time, other companies like Google is restricting internet access to employees to reduce risk. Remember we talked about this right here, where there's adversarial machine learning and other AI risks. One of the ways that companies are trying to prevent these vulnerabilities is just shutting off your internet. You go to work, you don't have internet. Employees are a frequent target of attacks. And so they're rolling out a pilot program to make people work without internet access. What do you know? Next thing they'll do, they'll probably chop down all your trees. So when you think about that, go to work, you have no internet, but you still have to do your job. How's that going to work out? Anybody have any thoughts on this? What is this doing to the economy? Well, here's cause and effect. Americans' 401ks got slammed last year. People are taking money out left and right. The average retirement account balance fell by 20%. Normally, retirement accounts go up. People put money in, the market goes up, stocks go up, everything goes up. You have inflation, interest rates, everything makes it go up. Well, everything except for retirement accounts balances. It went down 20%. How much do people have? Well, it used to be 141. Now it's 112,000. The median balance, that's the average. The median means a little bit different than average, 20, 30 grand. That's how much people have. So does this have anything to do with poor Emily? Maybe. Does it have anything to do with going on strike and chopping down the trees? See how these all are related? You don't think that if more people had jobs, there'd be more money in these 401ks. Well, maybe that's just an exception to the rule. Well, if that's the case, why are bankruptcy filings going up 17%? Total bankruptcy filings during the first 6 months of 2023, 17% increase. Last year was 185,000. This year was 217,000. You think there's any cause and effect from any of these other factors? Or if there's not, maybe this bankruptcy filings and the 401ks getting slammed, by the way, maybe it had nothing to do with AI or ChatGPT yet. But if it didn't, do you think that these firings and layoffs in the entertainment industry are going to make this problem worse in coming years? Maybe this is a lagging effect from people being out of work because of Corona or anything else. Maybe it's going to get worse. Who knows? So what is your option to escape from all this? What can you do in order to do better? Well, maybe the idea is to buy a house instead of renting, get some financial security. Well, guess what? Are mortgage rates going to drop? Answer, no. Because the Federal Reserve has already said they're going to raise rates. Well, maybe then I'll just go find a house to buy it even at the high rates. Well, that could be a problem too, because there's only one hope for people trying to buy a house. And here's the punchline. Here's the giveaway. Spoiler alert, new home. There are no used homes. There are no resales. People are holding on to their houses because if you're sitting on a 3 or 4 or 5% mortgage on your house, there's no way you're going to sell that house. Because as soon as you sell it, you have to give up your 3% mortgage. So there's no way in hell you're selling the house. So used houses, resale homes are not really available. So who's benefiting from this? New home sales is booming. New construction is the only game in town. There's no inventory. That's your answer right there. Front page, Wall Street Journal. High mortgage rates are dissuading sellers. New construction is the only game in town. After mortgage rates shot up, Ivory Homes, a Utah home builder, had few buyers. So this builder laid off 9% of its staff. But much to his surprise, we talked about this last week, this is a surprising thing, sales of new homes started picking up. Millions of homeowners are reluctant to sell because they can't afford to give up their low mortgage rates. Reluctant to sell, you think? We talked yesterday where less than 10% of houses, not for sale houses, all houses, have a mortgage on their house currently of 6% or less. So 90%, 90-something% of houses have rates, 90% of houses have rates under 6%. Only 10% have rates over 6%. So 90% of the houses are essentially out of circulation. No one's going to sell those houses. So only game in town, buy a new house. Well, good luck with that because those are not going to be cheap. And there's a built-in cost when you buy a new house. You might think, well, gee, it's great. I don't have to do any work, but you have to finish it out. You have to do paint a lot of times. You have to buy curtains. You have to buy all the fixtures. New house isn't a turnkey. A resale is usually more turnkey because it has drapes, right? It has shower curtains. It has all the little knickknacks you put in a house. So be aware that new house is probably going to be pretty expensive. How long is this going to last for? Well, Goldman Sachs has an answer. 4 years of housing gridlock. Price prediction through 26. What they're saying is that Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates, and housing supply would have needed to increase by 300% to match elevated housing demand. 300%, that's 3 times. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. Staggering 43% increase in home prices. 60% are attributed to heightened demand from work from home. So what's going to happen? 4 years of gridlock. slow grind upwards. That's what they're predicting. And they have to put their money where their mouth is. They're a major, finance company. They have a lot of money out in the street, so to speak. So that's some good news for you, right? AI is going to take your job. You're not going to have any money for your 401k, and you're not going to be able to buy a house. Doom and gloom, right? Well, when we come back, we'll talk about maybe some good news, because there is something happening with the automobile market that might be of interest. Be back in a flash. Told you we'll be right back. So, what is happening with cars? Cars. Everybody wants to know about cars. Is there going to be any relief in sight for the automobile market? And the answer is yes. What's happening is electric vehicles were maybe overhyped a little bit. What do we mean by that? Well, powers that be, government subsidies were in place. A lot of even utilities had bonuses for buying an electric car. So the factories started building a bunch of electric cars. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, let's take a look. Looks like it's a bad thing. Why is that? Well, because Ford and Tesla have to drop prices because there's millions of unwanted EVs, millions of unwanted EVs. Not hundreds, not thousands, millions of unwanted EVs. Why would that be the case? Well, on paper, it might seem like a good deal, but in reality, all those subsidies are not going to get people out of a gas car and into an EV. It turns out most of those subsidies went for people that were already wealthy just to buy an extra EV. They already had gas cars. It's not really replacing units in operation that are gasoline. They're getting people that maybe wouldn't have bought a second car, high net worth, affluent people with money. Well, yeah, I'll buy an EV, because you can't really have an EV for your primary vehicle yet because of charging stations. So almost everybody who has an electric vehicle, it's their second or third or fourth car. It's almost like a little toy, right? It's something that's fun to drive around, kind of show off a little bit. It's kind of techy. That's why Tesla has most of them, because it's not really even, the primary purpose isn't a car. It's more of like a little electronic toy. Looks different, acts different, got the big screen, right? You're not going to drive it as your primary vehicle for most people. In fact, the only type of electric vehicles that are selling is hybrids. And a hybrid is a car that has a gas engine and a battery. Some of them are plug-in hybrids where you can plug in and charge the battery. Some of them are dynamic hybrids where you drive and the motion of the vehicle, the turning of the wheels, charges up your battery. So at some point, you don't need to use your gas engine. You can just run off the battery. But that's still has a gas engine, right? That's the kind of car that's most popular. Many, many models are selling that are hybrids. Used EVs, cheaper than ever. Cheaper than ever. Used EVs, cheaper than ever. Down 30%. It's happening. Is that still a good buy? Is it still a good time to buy a used EV? Well, if you need a second car or third car, now might be the time to buy an EV, because the prices have gone down. Will they go down more? They might go down even more. But if you want one anyways, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to buy a used EV. What does that mean for the rest of the car market? Well, gasoline cars are also starting to back up. There's 2 million cars on dealers' lots that are piling up. In fact, just this week, we bought a new car. Have a car that's about 3 years old, didn't have a lot of miles, maybe 30,000 miles, but the prices on new cars have come down so much to go from a 3-year-old used car, it was a nice car, it was in good shape, popular car, to a brand new 2023 from 2020, similar car, actually a little bit of an upgrade. The money difference between the two is less than $10,000 between the two. So by giving the old car, stepping up to a new car, 3 years old, 34,000 miles, it only costs about $10,000. So there's some deals out there. Now, the prices are pretty high. The average price of a new car right now is about 50 grand. So you have to kind of pick your battles, but there are deals out there. Tell us what you think in the comments about these things. Now, here's the big question. We're going to get back to cyber. Remember we talked about cyber is coming for your job. I warned you, you didn't listen. Is it a big problem? Well, how big of a problem? Shifting landscape of cyber risk. New report evaluates latest technology risks. This is from an insurance business publication that we look at a lot in our insurance industry, our insurance agency. We look at this all the time. Despite escalating economic impact, there's $10 trillion expected in 2025 for cybercrime, 300% increase since 10 years ago. Perceived threat of cyber risk is going down, of all things. The perception of cyber risk remain at 27%, while business preparedness to address it is going to decline. Well, I'm sure the hackers are loving this. Sounds like a great opportunity if you're a hacker. Perceived risks are going down. Failing to keep pace with technological advancement is a significant concern. Whoops. So what do you do about it? Well, first of all, you worry because there's a threat from Chinese hackers on the US power grid. Now, do you have cyber insurance that covers you in case the grid goes down? There's policies for that. They don't all cover that, but you can get a policy that covers if your business is attacked, your suppliers are attacked, your customers are attacked, or even if outside resources like the power grid's attacked. You have to make sure you are getting this from your carrier, because if you just want a cyber policy, it may not cover this, off the shelf. You want to make sure you're asking for this, and of course it's going to cost more. The big keyword in insurance is proactive insurance. What that means is you're not just buying a promise to pay, you're buying a promise to help you protect. So when you buy a policy now, unlike buying a fire policy or some other damage policy that just pays you if something happens, the cyber policies are helping protect you from something happening. Because look, they have as much to lose as you do, probably more. If you have a policy on your business and you have a cyber attack that costs them, $100,000, that money's out of their pocket. You might have a small deductible, but they have the most to lose. So what do? We've talked about it before. Like you see all these screens behind us. What they will do is they will install little snippets of code on all your computers, all your routers, all your devices, and monitor for hacks. It's genius. It's worth its weight in gold. It's worth the price of the policy just to have that. And then if and when you do have an attack, they can catch it right away, shut it down, block it. Or if it does get in, they can minimize the damage so you don't lose that much. You don't lose weeks and weeks of productivity. You don't lose all your data, right? So cyber attacks are a big thing. So it's like a big circle. We started out with AI. I warned you and you didn't listen. We finished up with cyber attack, which is related because it's technology. And these attacks are going to use, as we saw, they're going to use machine learning as a risk vector to get into your system. Subjects, as always, AI, housing market, EVs, people losing their jobs for AI, and overall economy. Tell us in the comments what you want to hear more about. We will, as always, use that for suggestions on how to pick data stories that might help you see the future. Our plan is always to look 5 to 7 years out, what you can do today to plan for the expected probable landscape in the near future.
Are you tired of automated systems and chatbots when you need assistance? Experience actualhuman.com and connect with real professionals, not automation. At actualhuman.com, we bring you a network of professionals who are excited to answer your questions and provide guidance. Getting started is easy. Let us show you how. Here's how it works. Step 1. Select the best date and time for your video call. Step 2. Describe your situation and the areas you're looking for advice. Step 3. Connect one-on-one with an expert and get the undivided attention that you deserve. Experience